Be honest, you've been on a cruise and you thought, wow, the cruise director is the best. That guy or girl has the coolest job on the entire ship. You probably thought, you know what, this is so amazing, that's what I want to do for a living. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here I am, that person sharing with you everything about how I became a cruise director for Royal Caribbean International. And welcome to my YouTube channel. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Michelle and I am coming to you all the way from Brazil, and I have been working on board Royal Caribbean cruise ships for the past 13 years. Being 6 of these years acting as a cruise entertainment director, or the cruise director, the role that you all know, I thought that, you know what, since we're all at home at this point and we're all waiting for better days to come when cruise ships are going to be back at sea, taking you all to some amazing places all over the world, I thought that this YouTube channel could be a great way to actually connect with all of you. And I've been missing you guys, so this is just a great way to stay in touch with all of our guests, and of course also for all of those that maybe are thinking about working on a cruise ship, this can work as a source of information for all of you. So if you have been scrolling around my channel, you probably noticed that all my videos are in Portuguese so far. This is my very first video in English, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm sounding a little funny even to myself because I haven't spoken English for the past 5 months. I've been in Brazil since then. So this being my very first video in English here on this channel, please be patient with me, alright? So if you notice a little bit of an accent, of course it will happen. It's a funny but cute accent.
Discombobulated.
Discombobulated. Discombobulated.
So please just be a little bit patient, alright? And of course, I also want to already share that this is the first of many English videos that will be coming to all of you. Although I am in Brazil, I do understand that many of people that cruised with me before, you come from English-speaking countries. And not only that, I mean, people from all over the world, it's easier if it's in English for all of you. I understand that. But ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to this channel. I'm very happy to be here and to be sharing all this information with all of you. But I want to start by saying that this is not going to be a video where I will be teaching you how to become a cruise director or to tell you step by step how to become a cruise director. I'm actually going to be sharing with you my personal story. How did that happen to me? How I became a cruise director over the years with Royal Caribbean, and a little bit of my history and my career path. I am totally aware of how my career path was very, I can say, unique within Royal Caribbean. When you speak to other cruise directors around the fleet or any other cruise director, I would say on the cruise industry, you'll probably notice that their story is a little bit different. I know it's a very unique way, but I just want to share with you guys a little bit of the story so you get to know me a little bit better, and also to understand how does it work on board a cruise ship so you can get promoted to other positions and to higher positions, let's say like that. So I started to work for Royal Caribbean back in 2007, and I did all the hiring process in Brazil. And when I joined the ship, I was actually hired to work as a room service attendant. So that is a entry level for a waitress job. It's part of the food and beverage department. And just to give an idea, just to share with you, I wasn't even a waitress yet. So that's a very entry level. It's basically that people that deliver the food for you in your rooms. I didn't really have that much background. I started very, very young. I didn't work in many different places before I come to work on a ship. And anyway, the deal is that in Brazil back on those days, they wouldn't hire anybody for any other positions that was not part of food and beverage or housekeeping departments. So jobs such as like entertainment roles or admin roles, or even like, guest services and all that, it wouldn't matter how good your English was, we wouldn't get hired for that back in Brazil, because that were jobs considered standard roles for English native speakers. So it didn't really matter what was our background back then, because at that time, those would be the only jobs available for people that were hired in Brazil. People quite often ask me about my background and what I'm graduated on and also what is the background required to become a cruise director. There's not really a type of background required when it comes to graduation to become a cruise director. Also, if you're thinking about working on a cruise ship, there are several positions and jobs and opportunities. So all these jobs and opportunities, they come in different levels and of course different areas. So it really depends on what you're looking for to apply. Myself, I am graduated in hospitality management with a focus on travel and tourism. And although I do manage an entertainment business on board, as you can see, that was not my background. I learned a lot about it on the ship, and I'm still learning on the go on my career over the years. But I did have all that experience about managing people. So my transition from the food and beverage department to the entertainment department only happened a year and a half after I was already working on board. And that happened because, although I was making a great money, at least for a person from Brazil, it was a great money. I wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling the job anymore. I wasn't feeling in the right place. I was really thinking of quitting and coming back to Brazil. And that's how I was on my mind at that time when a friend told me about this opportunity. So what happened was that the human resources on board, what they do is from time to time, when the company is looking for new people, they post these openings on board for the crew who is on board looking for changing a position on board. So what happened is that I thought of that, and I was very lucky because at that time Royal Caribbean was sending cruise ships to Brazil for a Brazilian season, a Brazilian market in South America and all that. And they really were looking for people that could speak the languages, people that could speak Portuguese and Spanish and all that. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should just give it a try, even though I don't have the experience. I really thought I had the personality, and I still think I do have. And that's how I applied to and got approved to become the cruise director staff, which is basically part of the activities team. Those guys that you're used to see hosting all the trivias, activities, pool games, dance classes, all that stuff. It is important to mention though I am making it sound like it's very easy, but it's not really like that, especially for the crew members who have been working on board for a long time. You know that to change a position on board is not that easy. Think about it when you're getting hired when you're doing a process to get hired for a job. That's exactly what they do on board. You go through the process of putting your CV in, doing an interviews with the human resources on board. You actually get to do interviews with people who are responsible for that department. I did an interview at that time with the cruise director who was on board. And basically, even though I didn't have much experience on hosting and all that stuff, they did consider that I had a lot of experience on dance classes because that was a little bit of my background. I had the personality, which is what they were looking for at that time. So there, when I started to become part of the activities team, was when really everything changed for me. It was when I actually started to really love the job, and I thought, this is what I want to do. And it changed from being a job where I wanted to travel the world to become a job where I wanted to become my career. And I knew at that point that I wanted to become a cruise director. I was like, I started here and I said, this is really where I want to go. So that was the point that everything changed in my career with Royal. People quite often ask me, what does it take to become a cruise director? And I really like to say that the best way is to start by being an activity staff, even if you do that just for a couple of months. But the reason why I say that is because right there is when you start to actually get to understand what the guests exactly want, because you're dealing face to face with the guests all the time, hosting the activities and all that. And you get to understand the entertainment program, especially the activities program, which is basically the entry level for all the entertainment program that we have on board. Later on, as an assistant cruise director and a cruise director itself, you will actually get a whole picture of the theater shows and the flow around the ship when it comes to the main parties and all that stuff. But as the activity staff is the entry level, is when you actually get your first experience on hosting on the microphone and gathering all the people's attention and actually understanding and reading the crowd. That's the basic level right over there, and it's great for a learning process. Then, of course, you're going to be asking me, okay, so what does it take to become part of the activities team? What does it take to become an entertainment staff? And my answer to you will be number one is the personality. You got to have that personality. You need to understand that you will be emceeing a lot. You'll be on the mic. You'll be, talking to people all the time. You need to be a very outgoing person. But it's not only that. Royal Caribbean is not going to, or any other cruise line, I would say, is not going to hire you just because of your personality. You need to have some type of experience, whether it's in theater or dancing or hosting, something related to arts, I would say like that can prove on your background that you are that person. After 4 years being a cruise director staff or part of the activities team, I thought I was ready to move up. I was ready to go to the next step because 4 years was really a great time so I could learn everything about this role and understand the activities program and all that. And I thought I was ready for the next step, which was activities manager or the assistant cruise director. And how it works for Royal, for example, they give you a checklist where you have all the information, all the tasks that you need to be able to perform in order to move forward to the next step. So I started that process, and I thought I was ready. My bosses thought I was ready as well, and they decided to give me a shot. And that's how I started as an activities manager in 2012, and that's actually when I started the baby steps of becoming a cruise director. The reason why I say the baby steps is because really as an activities manager or the assistant cruise director, like they call in different cruise lines, is where you start to actually understand the management side of the job, right? Because until then, you're just hosting all the time. You get there in your office, you get your schedule, people tell you what to do, people tell you what you're gonna be hosting, and you just need to execute. Later on, as an assistant cruise director and cruise director, you go from not being the executor anymore, but the person who is planning, right? And right there, you step away from being just the staff and actually you become a manager for a small team because you are the manager for the activities team. And there is when you start dealing with people and their schedules. And basically, you know, for a crew member on board, their schedule is basically what's going to be dictating their life on board or their life off board. You know, what is the time that they have off the ship and all that stuff. So it becomes a very important role because you are really taking care not only of the activities program but of that small team that is out there being the face of the ship all the time. And not only that, you are going to be really the right hand, the right side of the cruise director, the person who's going to be there doing the events together with the cruise director. In case something happens to the cruise director, you are that person who's going to be stepping up and being the face of the ship. And you really start to understand the entire scope of the entertainment. And you really understand that things on entertainment, they need to totally bond together with all the rest of the program on board, with the dining room times, with, you know, weather changes and all that stuff. So that's why I really say that the assistant cruise director role is such an important role to transition because you have the chance to be learning so much without having that weight of being the cruise director yet. So only 1 year later after I became assistant cruise director / activities manager, I always like to say that because I do know that on other cruise lines they call it differently. But only 1 year after, was very fast actually, I received the news that I was going to become a cruise director for a ship that was coming down to the South American season. I'm not gonna lie, I was completely shocked. I really think I wasn't ready for that yet. I still had so much to learn. Usually it takes a little longer from an activities manager to become a cruise director, but I did understand the business needs at that time because the ship was coming down to South America. The cruise director being, you know, the face of the ship is that person who needs to be speaking over the PA system and in the theater all the time. And they really needed someone that could speak Portuguese and all that. And I thought it was, you know what, this is the opportunity. I gotta get it. I need to try it. Now, the good thing about it was that they told me about 8 to 10 months prior to the time that I was actually going to step up to the cruise director role. So they really told me way in advance. So they said, like, you know what, this is going to happen to you from this point onwards. You need to really be focusing yourself 100%, dive in completely into this to learn everything that you need to know, because after 8 months from now, this is what's going to be for you. For the next 8 to 10 months, I was fully immersed on that. That was my main thing. I was very dedicated on learning everything that I needed to know. I was again given a checklist of everything that I needed to learn, all the tasks that I was going to be capable of executing as a cruise director, and all the aspects that I needed to learn about the job. And about 8 to 10 months later was when I was actually given the first shot to become a cruise director on a ship down to South America. And it was an amazing experience doing everything to my people in Brazil. So it was quite easy, you know, when it comes to understanding the culture and the humor and all that. all the other aspects of the job. It was a challenge. It was a super challenge, but I went through it. I made it. The step from assistant cruise director to cruise director, it's such a huge weight on your shoulders, because as an activities manager or assistant cruise director, you go from any major decision you need to take, you go to the cruise director and you go to that person, and that person is going to make the decision. When you become the cruise director, you don't have that anymore. It comes to you and you need to be that person who's going to say yes or no and make a decision right over there. So, and of course, if the decisions are wrong, you are the one accounted for it. If anything else happens in the department that goes wrong, you're the one accounted for it. A lot of people think that the cruise director's job is actually just to be the face of the ship, to be that person who is at the theater all the time, hosting the shows, parties, and doing all that stuff. But actually, our role, it's much more, it's way beyond that. I would say that 70% of our job is actually behind the scenes, is planning all that, putting all that information together, understanding the flow of your guests and of your people, to then later on make your team, have your team executing that. A lot of the time we are actually dealing with booking our headliner shows and, dealing with the people. We have a whole division that is a massive division. Some ships, it's almost 200 people that is just part of the entertainment division. And there are human resources problems. Someone gets sick, you need to replace that person. So it's a lot of things that you need to deal with. Because apart from managing the people itself, you're also managing the full program, the full entertainment program for all the guests who are on board. So think about it. You come on a cruise, you want to have fun, you want to relax and all that. And the cruise director needs to make sure that you're getting that you're having a great time. That was your dream. You're saved for months to be there. And the cruise director is there to make sure that you are living that dream. I really always say that the cruise director's job has so many different tasks and roles involved in just one role that is even quite complicated for me to explain. My parents themselves, they didn't even understand what was my job until they actually came on a cruise the first time and they saw what I was doing, going from point A to point B to point C, and several times in the evening, getting changed 3 times in the night. And it was really funny for them to understand. So it's really not only about having the personality and amazing hosting skills. You really need to have a lot of management skills, because when you become the cruise director, you are going to be managing a business and not anymore being the host or just the executor of that business. You are really the person who is going to be managing the business. You become part of a management team. You become what we call a division head. You need to lead by example. You cannot commit any mistakes. You really need to be attending to daily meetings, many times more than one meeting a day. And apart from that, you need to be out there, high energy all the time, happy all the time. People do not pay to come on board and see you having a bad day, right? So you come on board and you want to see that person full energy all the time. And that's what we are there for. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video where I told you a little bit about my story within Royal Caribbean. As I said, I do understand that my story of how I became cruise director is a very unique story. It's not something that happens all the time, but I am very proud of being part of this amazing team of very exclusive people. There are cruise directors out there in the world. But I promise this is not going to be my only video in English. I'll be bringing much more for all of you, which, by the way, leads me to ask you something else. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit a like over there and also subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see anything here, any theme or topic you want to be talked about here on this channel, please feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you want to know, because I'm going to be telling you everything about the cruise industry and about working on cruise ships. Thank you so much, guys. I see you in the next one. Ciao for now.